kept staring at handsome men walking, but suddenly my husband got furious and did this. Hey Reddit, first of all, I've got to say, I honestly can't believe I'm posting here. I've been a Reddit user for a while now, and I really enjoy the community and the advice I've seen shared. My husband doesn't use Reddit as much, but finds it interesting sometimes, as Reddit can give some very useful advice. This is my first time posting something personal. I'm hoping that by sharing my story here, it might shed some light on a recent issue I had with my husband and maybe help him see things from a different perspective. A little background. My name is Annie. I'm 26 years old, and my husband is 25. We've been together since high school and got married about 3 years ago. Our relationship has generally been great. We have mutual respect and solid trust for each other. We've got 2 wonderful boys who are 4 and 3, and they are truly the light of our lives. We prefer a more traditional role in our household. I'm the stay-at-home parent while my husband is the main provider. It's a setup that works for us and our family dynamic. But recently we had a huge argument that I believe was completely unnecessary and quite frankly came out of the blue. I'm hoping posting about it here on Reddit will make my husband understand that his reaction was unnecessary and that he shouldn't be angry because what I'm doing is what any normal human being does. So, like I mentioned earlier, things between my husband and me have generally been pretty solid. We've got a good relationship built on trust, and I've never given him a reason to doubt me. I've never cheated on him, and I never would. I'm committed to him and our family. However, there's one thing that's recently become an issue between us, something I didn't think would cause any trouble. I like to admire people. It's not about anything serious. I just enjoy noticing when someone's good looking. Whether we're out walking, shopping, or driving, I sometimes notice and appreciate attractive people. It's just something I do, and I never thought it would be a problem. My husband is very handsome, and I'm proud of him. But sometimes, I notice other good-looking people too. It doesn't mean I'm unhappy with him or comparing him to anyone. It's just a way of appreciating the beauty around me. I thought this was a normal part of being human, and I didn't expect it to upset him. My husband and I have had conversations about this before. He's always been quite insecure, and it really bothers him when he notices me looking at good-looking men. I've tried my best to reassure him, but it seems like it's never enough. A while ago, he even asked me to stop looking at other men. I agreed to try, thinking it might help ease his worries. I really wanted to make him feel secure and valued, so I did my best to comply. But despite my efforts, I found it hard to completely stop. It wasn't about being interested in anyone else. It was just a habit of noticing people's attractiveness. I know it sounds like a small thing, but for him, it feels like a big deal. I've tried explaining that it doesn't mean I'm unhappy or looking for something else. It's just a natural reaction for me. I wish he could see it that way. I want him to feel secure in our relationship and know that he's the only one I'm committed to. I don't want this to be a recurring issue between us. Well, everything came to a head at my sister-in-law's baby shower. After the party, we decided to go out for dinner at a new restaurant my mother-in-law had found and really liked. It was a place we hadn't been to before, so we all agreed to give it a try. The restaurant was pretty busy when we arrived, but we got seated and served fairly quickly. The food was really good, and we were all enjoying the meal and conversation. As we ate, I couldn't help but notice a group of really handsome guys who had just finished eating and were about to leave. They were all very attractive, and I found myself glancing over at them repeatedly until they paid and walked away. I didn't think much of it at first, but it had started to become obvious to everyone at our table. My husband tried to stay calm, but I could see his mood changing. Eventually, he couldn't take it anymore and stormed out of the restaurant. I didn't realize he had left until he was already outside. I wanted to follow him, but I was worried about making things even more awkward, especially with my mother-in-law and the rest of the family there. I decided to stay and finish my meal quietly. The atmosphere at the table was tense, and it felt like everyone was judging me, so I just paid for our food and left. When I got home, I tried reaching out to my husband because he and the kids were nowhere to be found. He told me he had taken the kids to the park to give himself some space. When my husband came home, things took a turn for the worse. We had a huge argument right away. He was fuming and told me that I had embarrassed him in front of his family. He explained that while he was at the park with the kids, his mother and the rest of his family had called him, expressing their disappointment and concern about my behavior. They were upset and wanted to know what was going on. I tried to explain myself, but he wasn't interested in hearing it. He was so angry that he wouldn't listen to my side of the story. I tried to tell him that I wasn't doing anything wrong, and that I was just admiring some attractive people, which I thought was harmless. I said he was overreacting, and that his reaction was way out of proportion to what actually happened. Things quickly escalated. I told him he was being controlling and that he couldn't dictate how I should act or what I should look at. I felt trapped and frustrated, like he was trying to control my every move. I tried to make him see that his reaction was excessive and that I had the right to look around and enjoy myself without being scrutinized. Despite my attempts to reason with him, the argument only grew more heated. It felt like we were talking in circles, and neither of us was willing to back down. The more I tried to defend myself, the more he accused me of being inconsiderate and selfish. It was such an exhausting argument, and by the end of it, we still hadn't found common ground. I feel terrible about the whole thing, and am not sure how to handle it. I don't know, Reddit. I feel like I'm not at fault here. It's not like I cheated or did anything seriously wrong. My husband and his family are blowing things out of proportion. I understand that they're upset, but I genuinely don't see why my admiration of a few attractive people has turned into this big issue. I mean, it's normal to notice when someone is good looking, right? I've never been unfaithful, and I've always been open and honest with my husband. I've tried to reassure him before and even agreed to limit my wandering eyes, but I didn't realize it was such a big deal. I feel like my husband is exaggerating, and his family's reaction is just adding to the mess. I keep trying to make him see that his reaction doesn't fit the situation. It's not like I was flirting or making any advances. I was just looking, and that shouldn't be a crime. I really want us to work through this, but I'm finding it hard when he's so upset and won't even listen to me. I'm starting to wonder if my feelings are valid or if I'm missing something here. It's been tough, and I just want things to get back to normal without all this drama. Update. Hey Reddit, it's me again. Wow, this post really blew up more than I expected, but I've gotten a lot of helpful feedback, so I appreciate that. I want to address some of the common questions and concerns that keep coming up, just to clarify things. I thought I'd explained them before, but apparently it's worth repeating. Yes, my husband is indeed handsome, and I am very attracted to him. We've been completely honest with each other throughout our relationship. We have each other's locations tracked and access to each other's phones. There's never been any cheating on either side. He's quite romantic and affectionate. He even plans out special nights for us. Things have generally been great between us, and I wouldn't say otherwise if they weren't. A lot of people have said I'm the asshole, that I'm selfish, stubborn, and rude. I understand where those comments are coming from, and I agree that I could have handled things better. I see your points, and while I might not fully agree with everything, I'm trying to understand the perspectives being shared. Now, on to the actual update. My husband has been giving me the cold shoulder. He's been ignoring me and not talking to me at all, which is really frustrating. I want to be clear, I really don't want to be the one to initiate an apology. I feel that if he comes to me first and apologizes, we can have a productive conversation, and I'm willing to apologize for my part too. I understand that many of you think I'm in the wrong, and I'm open to making things right, but I need him to take that first step. Update. Hey Reddit, it's me again. I'm really frustrated right now, and I'm coming back here hoping to get some advice on how to handle a new issue with my husband. I never thought I'd be posting about this, but here I am. So, after our argument at the restaurant, things seemed to settle down. We managed to start talking again, and we're working through the situation. It's been a couple of weeks and I thought we were on the mend, but now there's a new problem that's driving me crazy. Lately, my husband has been staring at other people, especially women, whenever we're out together. And I don't just mean a casual glance. He's blatantly staring at them. It feels like he's doing it to get back at me or to make some sort of point. It's incredibly irritating, and it feels like he's comparing me to these women, which is really demeaning. I've tried talking to him about it, but his response is always that he's just looking and that I do the same thing, so it shouldn't be an issue for him. He insists that he's just observing and that there's nothing more to it. but I'm finding it hard to accept that explanation when it feels so deliberate and hurtful. I'm not sure how to make him see how upsetting this is for me, or how to address this behavior without making things worse. I want to approach him in a way that gets through to him, but I'm struggling to find the right words or approach. Any advice on how to handle this situation or communicate my feelings effectively would be really appreciated. Update. Hey Reddit, it's me again. I wish I had something positive to share, but honestly, things are just getting worse, and I'm so tired of it all. I feel like my husband has taken every word I said in anger during our argument after the incident at the restaurant weeks ago, and now he's using it against me. Let me explain. My husband and I have always had this unspoken agreement. He's the breadwinner, and I'm the stay-at-home parent. But even with that, he used to help out around the house. He loves to cook, so he'd often take over in the kitchen. The kids adore his cooking, honestly more than mine, which stings a little, but it was fine. He also enjoys doing household chores like cleaning. I know that might sound strange, but it's true. He used to take pride in keeping the house neat, and it was something I really appreciated. But now, all of that has changed. He's completely stopped helping out around the house. And when I say stopped, I mean completely. It's like he's drawn a line in the sand, and now he refuses to cross it. He's the breadwinner, and that's it. Every other responsibility falls on me, and I'm drowning. I tried talking to him about it, hoping we could work something out, but he just brushes me off. He says he's busier at work now and that taking care of the house is my role, something we both agreed on. But taking care of 2 kids under 5 while also managing the entire household is overwhelming. It's exhausting, both physically and mentally. And when he comes home to find anything out of place, he complains. He doesn't seem to care about how much pressure I'm under, and it's making me feel so alone. And it doesn't stop there. He continues to look at other women when we're out, which makes me feel even more isolated and unimportant. It's like he's trying to prove some point, but all it's doing is driving a wedge between us. To make matters worse, he's been talking about putting down a deposit on our dream home, a home we've both wanted for years. But now he's saying he doesn't want my name on the deed. I feel completely blindsided by this. I don't understand what's happening or why he's suddenly making all these changes without even discussing them with me. My entire household has shifted, and I'm struggling to figure him out. It's like I don't even recognize the man I married anymore. I'm trying to hold it together for the sake of our kids, but I'm at a loss. I just feel so hot, tired, and stressed out all the time. I don't know how much longer I can keep this up. Has anyone else been through something similar? How did you handle it? I really need some advice on how to approach this before things get any worse. Update. Hey Reddit, it's me again. I wanted to give you all an update because a lot of you suggested that I sit down and have a real conversation with my husband. So, that's exactly what I did. I decided it was time to be upfront about how overwhelmed I've been feeling. I told him that I couldn't keep up with all the house chores on my own, that it was just too much, and that I was honestly drowning in it all. I was hoping he'd understand and offer to help, but instead, he told me that he's drowning in work too, and that taking care of the house is my role, one that I chose according to him. I was shocked. I mean, we've always had this dynamic where I manage the home because I'm the stay-at-home parent, but he used to help out too. I thought we had an unspoken agreement that we were a team. So I told him straight up that I needed him to start helping me around the house again, but he flat out refused. He said that if I wanted, I could get a job, and then he'd cut down on his work hours and we could split the chores 50-50. It felt like he was throwing my own words back at me. He reminded me about what I had said during the argument we had after the restaurant incident. I had told him that I could do whatever I wanted and that he was being controlling. I was honestly shocked that he still remembered that and was using it against me now. He then withdrew all the cash from our joint account. When I asked him about it, he told me that he wants us to switch to separate accounts from now on. According to him, the joint account will only be used for paying bills related to the house and the kids. He said that I would still get my personal monthly allowance. This change really threw me off. We used to manage our finances together, and this just feels like a big shift. Plus, he didn't even discuss it with me first. It's not just about the money. It's about how things are changing between us. I don't know what to do. It feels like a switch has flipped in my husband, and he's blowing this whole situation way out of proportion. How could something as small as what happened at the restaurant turn into something this big? I feel exhausted, like I'm carrying the weight of our entire relationship on my shoulders. I never imagined that one small argument could unravel everything like this. It's like he's punishing me for what happened, and I don't know how to get us back on track. I'm just so tired, physically and emotionally, and I don't know how much more of this I can take. Has anyone else been through something similar? How did you manage to get through it? I really need some advice on how to navigate this because right now, I feel like I'm running on empty. Update. Hey Reddit, it's been a long while since I updated, and honestly, it's because things have taken a turn I never expected. If you've been following my posts, you probably have an idea of how things have been between my husband and me. But for those who haven't, you can check my profile to get the full story. I'm so tired. I've been crying for what feels like forever, and I just don't recognize the man I married anymore. I don't even know what to do at this point. My husband wants a divorce. I was completely blindsided. I know things have been tense between us, and I've been using Reddit as my soundboard for a while now, but I never saw this coming. He told me that he's been trying to make me see his point of view through everything he's done over the past few weeks, but now he's just done. He said he's tired of being the one to carry the relationship, the marriage, and everything else. He said I never appreciated him, and he's had enough. He told me he's stopped loving me for a long time now, and that he's tried his best to reignite those feelings, but he just can't do it anymore. I was so shocked. I didn't know what to say. I got angry, I begged, I even suggested we try couples counseling, but he wouldn't listen. He told me the only thing he wants is a divorce. He just wants to move on from me. He said he's checked out of the relationship, that he checked out after the restaurant incident, and there's no going back for him. He told me he had already spoken to our landlord about breaking the lease, and that he'd be moving out shortly. At first I thought he was joking or maybe just saying all this out of anger, but I quickly realized he was deadly serious. The next day I found out he'd already put down a payment on our dream home, the one we'd been talking about for years, and that was where he was moving to. Within a week, he was gone. I was still reeling from the shock, trying to process everything, when he took the kids with him. I tried to argue, but he said I wouldn't be able to afford the rent on my own, and that I'd have to move back in with my parents. He didn't want the kids to stay with me if I was going to live with them, and as much as it hurt, I understood. My parents are toxic, and I didn't want to subject the kids to that environment, so I let them go with him, even though it broke my heart. They're closer to him anyway, and they seem happier there. My husband was right about one thing. There was no way I could afford the bills on my own, so about a month after he moved out, I had to move back in with my parents. I've been here for weeks now, and my husband is still dead serious about the divorce. I've tried everything, begging, crying, suggesting couples counseling, but he's not interested. He's completely checked out, and he says he's been that way since the restaurant incident. I even tried getting his family to talk to him, but that was a dead end. They've never really liked me, so they're not exactly on my side. The only reason I'm even posting this now is because I got served a few days ago, and I needed somewhere to rant. That's when I remembered Reddit. Living with my parents has been a nightmare. They're toxic, and they've been blaming me for everything that's happened. They're furious that I let the kids go with my husband, but honestly, I know it was the right thing to do. The kids are happier with him, and I get to see them regularly, even though it's awkward every time I see my ex-husband. But we're managing because we have to. For the kids, plus we're going to have to do that for years, until the kids are grown, so might as well get used to it now. I've been trying to get a job, something online that I can do at my own pace. I found a few, but they're low paying, and I'm just not making enough to move out on my own yet. I'm saving every penny I can, hoping to eventually rent an apartment or maybe get a roommate, but for now, I'm stuck. I'm exhausted, mentally, physically, emotionally, in every way you can imagine. I still love my husband, and I keep wishing there was something I could have done to save our marriage. I keep hoping he'll change his mind and agree to couples therapy, but deep down, I know he's already gone. I'm just not ready to accept it yet. I don't know what to do next. I feel like I'm just surviving day by day, trying to hold on to whatever little hope I have left. I feel lost, and I don't know how to move forward from here. Update. Hey everyone, it's been a while since I last posted, and that's because I really wanted to wait until the divorce was finalized before sharing an update. I guess I just needed to close that chapter of my life before I could talk about it. It's been a tough journey, but I've been trying to focus on myself and put things back together, little by little. I've been taking self-care seriously, even though it's been hard. I've realized that even the smallest efforts make a difference when you're going through a lot. My main focus has been on my kids, making sure they're adjusting okay to everything that's happened. I'm doing my best to keep things positive and stable for them. As I mentioned before, I've been looking for a job. I haven't found anything that would allow me to move out on my own yet, but I've been picking up some small gigs here and there that help a bit. It's not much, but every little bit helps, and I'm grateful for that. I've also been trying to spend as much time with my kids as possible. They're my world, and I want them to know that, despite everything, they are still loved and cared for. And I've also been thinking about therapy or counseling for myself, though. Right now, it's just not within my budget. But in the meantime, I mentioned the idea to my ex-husband, and he's been looking into getting the kids into some kind of therapy, maybe play therapy, just in case they need it. I've also been really lucky to have a few friends who've stuck by me through all this. A lot of my friends were more my husband's friends, so they naturally sided with him when things got rough. But the ones who stayed have been incredibly supportive, and I can't thank them enough. My parents, on the other hand, well, they've been a mixed bag. They did help me get legal advice, but not out of concern for me. They were more focused on getting custody of the kids, which I ultimately decided against. But more on that in a bit. Now, onto the big update. The divorce is finalized. It was pretty straightforward, honestly. My husband and I had only been married for 3 years, so there wasn't any spousal support or major assets to split. The house was solely his, and even if the judge had ruled differently, I don't think I would have had it in me to take anything from him. I've come to realize just how much he did for me during our marriage, and I truly believe he deserves the world. We didn't have any debts to split either, so the whole process was quick and clean. When it came to custody, I made the difficult decision to let my husband have it. My parents were furious, absolutely livid, but I stand by my choice. I'm still trying to get on my feet, and the last thing I want is to bring my kids into a toxic environment with my parents. My husband lets me see the kids whenever I want, and sometimes I even stay over at the house with them. It's not the ideal situation, but it's working for us, and the kids seem to be adapting well. They're happier and healthier, and that's all I could ever ask for. I know my parents blame me for everything, but I've reached a point where I just don't care anymore. I'm focused on what's best for my kids, and I'm doing what I can to rebuild my life, step by step. It's hard, but I'm getting there. I wanted to share this update because I got a lot of messages asking how things were going. I know it's been months, and I figured I owed you all an explanation. Thank you to everyone who's reached out, offered support, and just been there during this incredibly difficult time. It means more than you know. That's pretty much it for now. I'm taking things one day at a time and doing my best to keep moving forward.